Welcome to the Living Legacy Podcast, where we feature wealth experts, investors, and entrepreneurs as they share their inspiring journey to living their best life. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hey everybody, Brian Foucher, host of the Living Legacy Podcast, where I feature guests across many industries. Now, today I'm pretty excited because I have Bryan Dulaney here. Now, I met Bryan here at the Board Advisor Mastermind. Actually, what was it, a couple of months ago, right, Bryan?
Yeah. It feels like it was a couple of weeks ago.
A couple months ago. But Bryan has generated more than $500 million in revenue for clients, partners, and his own campaigns, and is recognized by leaders such as Tony Robbins, Russell Brunson, as being one of the top 1% of all marketers and funnel experts in the world. So I'm super excited to have him here. So actually, thank you, Bryan, for being here.
Yeah, great to be here with you, Brian. Great name.
Oh yeah, name. Oh yeah. Spelled differently though, very rare.
That's right.
So that being said, so for those of you that don't know who you are, can you kind of give us some background as to how you got into like this industry and how you got to where you're at today?
Yeah, so all the way back in 2006, I saw all these guys. I was in college. I was working on my MBA. I was like trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life, and I saw these guys, like Joe Vitale. I saw, Yannick Silver. I saw, Dan Kennedy. I saw all these guys basically talking about how they're making money online. And I was curious about it. Just like one thing led to the next. And all of a sudden I joined a 30-day challenge to make my first dollar online as an affiliate. I was in college. I was part-time personal trainer, making $15 an hour part-time on the side. I was up to my ears in student loan debt, right? And I was in my master's degree just because I didn't really want to get a job and was trying to figure it out, right? That's kind of where I was at. And so this whole idea of, hold on, you can make money on the internet. I can do it from anywhere in the world and I can sell other people's stuff. I don't have to have my own stuff to sell. I was like, that sounds great. So I joined this challenge. People that say, oh, the challenges are like the new hottest thing. It's like, no. I started a challenge in 2006, 17 years ago is what got me into this industry. There's nothing new about them, but they work really well. And what happened was I watched a video and did some work, watched another video, did some more work, watched another video, did some more work. And by day 7 of buying my first domain name, I had an email that said, you made a sale, and it was a $750 sale.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. I have no clue how it happened. So it was like by luck, it was like by the grace of God that I even made that thing. But it was the first result I had. I was like, okay, I do not understand how that happened, but I need to figure out how to make that happen every day, every hour of my life, because every day, just making it once a day is like $250,000 a year. You start multiplying that out across, 4 times a day, 5 times a day, and you see how things begin to scale. That was my mindset back in 2006. And that's kind of what got me into this whole industry, was selling other people's stuff. And then one day, I approached this company that I wanted to sell their stuff. They had this water ionizer company, and I absolutely loved the product so much. I hit them up and I was like, yo, can I sell your stuff and you pay me a commission? And they're like, well, you can buy for $1,000 and you can sell it for $2,000. I'm like, hold on a second. I ain't buying nothing. I'm going to send you buyers and you're going to send me checks. And they're like, hold on, what? Like their brain was rattled, right? And they're like, we love that idea, but we don't know how to do that. I'm like, they're like, can you help us dominate our competition on the search engines, on YouTube, on Google, on Yahoo, on Bing, on da-da-da. I'm like, yeah, I can do that. Now, mind you, at that point, I had no clients in my life. The only saving grace I had was I found a mentor really fast in my career who I was able to rely on. Otherwise, I would have never landed a client. I would have never probably been in this seat today because that first mentor was such a vital kind of key person in my life to help me avoid pitfalls and really figure out, I realized really early on that watching YouTube videos was not going to get me to where I needed to go. Like I needed to just go find someone that had the results I want and then just pay them to then tell me what to do. And then I'll just go do it. Right. Because I'm a second degree black belt in Taekwondo. I was like, okay, I didn't get my second degree black belt in Taekwondo by watching YouTube videos. Like that's pretty silly. Right. Like, no, I went to the dojo 3 times a week and I trained my butt off and I had other people around me and I had my sensei that was challenging me. So that was one of my first realizations that I think was a lifesaver. It like saved me so much time. Because really quickly after hiring him and paying an uncomfortable amount of money to have him be my mentor, which I didn't have, I was a broke college kid living off of student loans. Like I'm not a trust fund baby. but I paid him and it was really uncomfortable and it was really scary. And it felt like a bad decision, but it was like the best decision I could have made. And I ended up making $10,000 in like 3 days. And I made more than my teachers were making, who were teaching me my MBA. And I'm like, hold on a second. Why am I paying them? I just made more than them in 3 days. And they're making it all month. Like, I'm done this and I'm going full time into my business. And then really that was the launch of my career, was like figuring out, how do I sell other people's stuff?
Now, one of the things that you mentioned there that I really like, or that a lot of entrepreneurs can relate to, is that you were uncomfortable. You did something that you like, this might be a bad decision, or you almost do it and then you're like, oh shoot, should I have done that? You want to kind of, hey, can I get a refund almost? You have those kind of thoughts. Right. But it's that uncomfortable, stretching your comfort zone, being outside your comfort zone, that a lot of entrepreneurs experience. And a lot of people, when they experience that, they quit, they stop, they hit that roadblock, that challenge, and they go backwards. And people like you and I, we actually lean into it. When we recognize that, oh my gosh, I'm feeling uncomfortable. Okay, this is exciting. It's a very different mindset around that feeling than a lot of other people. And one thing I'd even ask now is that I feel a lot of people have those feelings right now. Non-entrepreneurial people, non-business owners are feeling a lot of this uncomfortable feelings right now with the current economy, the markets, and they're pulling back. Yet, we were together here a couple months ago, and all the people are excited about what they're doing, the things they're working on, the projects they're leaning in. They're actually building, growing, scaling. And funny enough, what you do is launch and scale things. And so when you see people that are kind of living in fear, you do the opposite, right?
Yeah. Well, and I got to tell you, when I first made my first investment, it was to go to an event. So that the mentor came later, but I went to an event. It was actually in the real estate space. It was commercial real estate. I remember it was a $5,000 check. I remember driving to the airport. I was sweating. I was like the most nervous. It was like the most nervous thing. I'm like, everything in my body was like, turn around, get a refund. What are you doing? You're crazy. And I'm like driving to the airport, right? Borrowed $5,000 on a credit card I didn't have. And it felt like I was making like a death situation, right? Like I was like, committing suicide by paying this $5,000 fee that I didn't have to go learn something that I didn't know anything about. And you're right. Every time I've done that, I don't know about you, Bryan, but every time I've done that, there's always a blessing on the other side. Like whether it's a person or whether it's a one nugget, right? Whether it's a $25,000 mastermind or a $100,000 mastermind, right? Like it's just different levels, right? And it's uncomfortable. Like when you've never done it before, it's uncomfortable. Like when you cut your first $25,000 check to be in a mastermind, to be surrounded with people, or 30,000, right? Like board of advisors is $30,000 investment. It's like, when you cut that check, right? It's like, did I make the right decision? It could this have gone to better use, right? And you all these limiting, these fears and limiting beliefs come up and these doubts. And then on the other side of it, you look back and you're like, oh yeah, like that one meeting paid for itself like 10 times. Like, why did I allow that to come up? And I think it's just part of our human experience, right? I think it's the survival. It's like, we want to keep and protect, and we don't want to lose, and we don't want to look like, we don't want to go backwards. We always want to be going forward, and we want to be gaining, and we want to be making more. Like giving out is something that like really brings up a lot of emotion, especially around money, right? And I think right now, because of what we're going through in the world with we're not going to go down that channel today, or we'll be here for hours, but like with all of that crap, it's like, you can either choose to like be in that narrative and like get sucked backwards into a place of scarcity and lack, or you can surround yourself with the people like you and I have done, Bryan, by being a part of a mastermind of people that are just like making things happen and creating things of value for others. And I don't know about you, but like being around those groups is like so exhilarating. And but if you were like to just sit home and like watch TV and watch the news or watch alternative media, you're going to be like, man, this sucks. Like the state of affairs is pretty shitty. And meanwhile, yeah, it is. I mean, we're not going to go down that today, but there's so much opportunity when you are surrounding yourself with a group of people that are actually making things happen.
Yeah. And one of the things that I came to realize here recently through one of my mentors, who actually is in our same mastermind, is that when you experience fear, it manifests in your body. You get that tightness in your chest, your breathing increases, goosebumps, your heart beats faster, all these kind of things. But what I came to realize through him it's the same manifestation of happiness and joy.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, fear and joy kind of manifest themselves almost the same way in your body for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's really how your mindset and your subconscious interprets that feeling that is the true result. And so
it's true. Hey, how do you interpret it? Right. You're like, what? Someone can interpret that. It's like, oh, this is going to be epic. We're going to grow. Like they cut a big check and they're like, oh, this is awesome. We're going to learn new things. And then someone else is like, oh, I can't believe we're doing this. Right. Like, you know, some of the greatest breakthroughs are in those moments where you're just so uncomfortable that that all those feelings come up. Right. Like at least some of my greatest.
Speaking on stage for me is the big one. So before I used to get all like, oh my gosh, I'm scared. Now I'm like, when I see it here, when I feel those same feelings, I'm like, man, I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's the same feelings, but my mind and the way that I actually am truly feeling inside is vastly different now. So I love that. So let's transition into what you're doing today, because we're talking about obviously business, entrepreneurship, growing, scaling right now, when there's some things coming in the pipelines that are going to be pretty pivotal. So what are you doing right now inside your business or with your clients when it comes to offers or launching?
Yep. So a lot of our clients and campaigns that we're launching, we use webinars and we use challenges a lot, right? Yep. So we use those two models to really basically build a relationship with people and then I call it earning the right to make an offer.
Yeah.
And to me, like a challenge is the ultimate expression of that, right? Because you have to show up every day for 5 or 7 days, for 5 to 7 hours or more, and you have to actually deliver value, right? You have to actually have to earn the right to then present an offer for people to go deeper with you, right? So
I like that. That's a really good way to look at it.
That's how I view it is, you've got to earn the right to make an offer. And then if you earn the right to make an offer, you truly have given value that helps people see that you're a true expert, see that you know what you're talking about, see that you can help them get where they're looking to go, then a percentage of them are going to move forward. And the reality is, webinar, I don't know about you, but like 4 to 5% of people that register for the webinars will move forward into a lower ticket offer, right?
Yeah.
That's a good number, right? I can spend $1 on Facebook and make 3 or 4 on the front end.
Right.
And I'm happy about that all day long. With challenges, though, it's higher. Our numbers around 7% of registrants will buy our $1,000 product from a challenge. Now, why is that? Like, that's a big difference. It's like double. And the reason is because you have more time to add value and earn the right. So the more time, like think about, I always like to help people think about this like in real life. Like when you meet someone on the street or out about, or maybe you're at the gym or you're at the church or you're wherever, right? But you're out and you meet someone for the first time, right? The first thing you're going to do, unless you're like, a realtor or someone like that, or network marketing, and you're just a rookie, you're going to like start pitching your services, right? Like that. Usually people don't like those people in the room, right? Like you're like, oh, this another one of these people again, right? Like it's a bad strategy, right? You don't want to it's like, anyways, it's not a good idea. You don't want to just pitch your services right out of the gate. You want to add some value. So when you meet someone out and about, you might meet them, you get to know them, you share some common interests, you talk about things. You're like, hey, cool. Like, we probably have some more things in common. Like, let's go grab some coffee, or hey, let's grab some lunch. And then you meet again. Then you meet again. Then you meet again, right? By the time you meet, you've got like 4 or 5 sessions under your belt. There's trust established. And so when you say, hey, would you like to be a part of this thing that I'm doing? They're like, yeah, I'd love to be a part of it. They're much more receptive to it. Okay. So the same thing applies in the real world as it does in this internet world that we live in, right? So it's really simple. If you just understand like basic relationship building skills that apply to the real world, transfer those onto the internet, and they work in a similar way. Now, that's not to say that you need to get good at selling, you need to get good at communicating, you need to make a really great offer that shows a very clear path to helping people get where they want to go. All of those things you need to do. But the foundation of it is, you're dealing with human beings, right? And the same way you would deal with them on the street, meeting them out and about in real life, is the same way you should approach it to this online business, this expert business, this, online reality that we live in, where we launch businesses online and do it from anywhere in the world.
Yeah. And I like what you said there, that sales concept or making a sale, the process to get to that point is pretty much the same no matter the media that you're using to get to that point. And a lot of people miss that. Whereas, we're used to the traditional physical world. You go to the digital world and it's like, oh, buy my shit right now. And it doesn't happen that fast. I'm like, why not? It's like, well, same concept when you go to the shopping mall, it's the same thing. And so I like what you said there. So question I have, and that I've been hearing from other people as well, is what kind of offers or products are you seeing that are more popular now than maybe they weren't as popular maybe 3 or 4 years ago because of the change in what the buyer's mentality or what the traditional person is feeling in the marketplace?
Yeah. So we're still heavily selling on free stuff, free front ends, right? So you got free webinars, you got free challenges. They work really well. Don't let anybody tell you that they don't. They work really well. If you're doing a webinar, you're doing a challenge, you're like, this doesn't work. Your narrative on your front end isn't the right narrative. That's typically what you need to look at. So everything, it boils down to a narrative game, and the words you use to bring people to you. Okay, that's number one. But what are we selling? We're selling everything from courses to coaching, like workshops, mastermind, agency, right? Now, the way that I like to talk about it is I like there to be, when I'm doing a webinar, I'm doing a challenge, I'm typically not going to go to a 20K coach program or an agency offer. Just not, because I would leave so much money on the table and not be able to serve people at a lower level if I just go straight to that high ticket sale. Now, not to say that's not a valid model, because if you're just starting, I always recommend experts that are just starting in this whole world of the expert business, you should start with your high ticket offer, because it's going to be high ticket, high touch. It's going to give you the most money for that customer to work with them either in a done with you or done for you capacity. And it's going to produce the most testimonials. So if you're just starting out this whole expert business, or you want to be an online marketer, an information marketer, go high ticket first. Like, don't go selling courses and books and don't do that. You're going to waste your money. You're going to waste your time. It's going to be a good learning lesson for you, but I don't know about you. All the money, the secret sauce here, my friend, is all the money's made in the back end. Okay. Your front end is for your acquisition expense. Unless you're relying on affiliates to drive traffic for you, which if you don't have a proven funnel and offer, there's no affiliates that are going to get behind you. So if you're new, you don't have any credibility, you don't have any expertise, you don't have any data, there's no one worth their weight in salt, unless you're Tony Robbins. People just get behind him because it's Tony, right?
Yeah.
But go make that high ticket offer, okay, high touch, high ticket, and go obsess about getting results for other people. Because once you have a mountain of evidence, then you can launch a challenge and a course, and you can launch those lower ticket things to cast a wider net. And that's how I would recommend you look at it. A book is a wide net. A course is a wide net, right? But everyone has this idea like, oh yeah, I need to launch a course. It's like, yes, but hold on a second. Have you dialed in your high ticket offer? I didn't launch a course around this model until after more than a decade of having our high ticket, high touch offer, which is our agency, fully dialed in and repeatedly producing 7 and 8 figure campaigns.
Yeah.
Do it.
I like what you said there, because I came into this whole thing backwards, because I didn't have the experience that you probably had when you got to start. So I went into it backwards and I got backward results, and I was scratching my head trying to figure out what was going on. I even had hair back then. And I just remember this is like, what is going on here? And so at one point we had a webinar funnel that had done 7 figures and broke even barely. Yep. Actually, it's probably at a loss if I went back and looked at the numbers. And I'm like, well, this is crazy. I have revenue in a business that dwarfs most other businesses on average. And people are looking at me saying, you're awesome. This is great. I'm like, no,
right.
No, it's not.
Because you didn't have your back end. So if you had your back end, that's where you make all your money anyways. And the mindset that I like to help people see, and it'll save you so much heartache and headache. Man, if you had a webinar that was breaking even on your front end, that is a gold mine, right?
Yes.
A gold mine. Like, if I can spend $1 and make $1, I can print money. Right. And that's what you need to get to. You need to get to that place where you can spend $1, make $1. And then you can optimize that thing. Because obviously you don't want to spend $1, make $1. You want to spend $1, make $2 or $3 or $4.
Yeah.
But the way I like to teach people and educate and give people like a vision into what this is if you can spend $1 and make $1 on your front end, you're now break even. That means you can pay to acquire customers.
Yep.
Not a lot of people can do that. So that's a major milestone. And then all your profit should come from your back end, which is your done with you or done for you offers. Okay. And that's how you're going to scale the lifetime value of your customer, meaning you're going to make more profit per customer. Like you should never just have a course and then nothing deeper. Like I always tell my audience, is like, if you have nothing deeper than a course, you really don't care about people. Because if you cared about people, you'd have a done with you or done for you program, because those statistically are the things that are going to get results for people. Your course is not, your course is going to, 9% of people that buy your course are going to finish the thing.
Yeah.
Okay? At best, I mean, my course, I have 52% of my people, they actually fulfill the objective, which is to launch a funnel and an offer in 60 days. But I incentivize it. Like I incentivize it like crazy. Most people don't incentivize it. They just sell a course and they're like, here you go. Off to the races you go. Good luck. And they leave them hanging, right? Don't do that, my friend. Like, don't do that. Like, care about people and you can be in this for a long time. Like, and also the other thing, Brian, the other thing is like, a lot of people look at this whole business as like a money grab. They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go print money and I'll make a bunch of money and I'm going to go retire. It's like, that is not the way to look at this thing. Like that's the people that like come in and come and go. You've seen them. You've been around long enough to see them. They come in, where they go. It's because they're not thinking long enough. You got to think longer than that.
They also don't have purpose.
They have no purpose, right? So they're just driven by cash flow, and driven by cash flow is just weak. It's not sustainable. Never sustain. It's not sustainable, and you'll never outstand someone who has purpose and vision beyond just money.
Yeah. And for the first, I don't know, at least 5 years when I got into this space, that I didn't have purpose and I was trying to find it actually. So it's interesting. My journey in entrepreneurship was a journey to find my purpose. And I didn't realize that for most of the journey. And once I realized that, I'm like, oh, wow, I wish I had someone to talk to me about this early on, because it would have completely changed my focus and what I was working towards. Yeah. So that being said, what I liked what you said about the high ticket thing, if you're an individual getting started, start with the high ticket. So that's something I wish I had been exposed to, but that's just my own journey. But now when I look at that model, I say, well, one, why that is so powerful is because you don't have the expenses that you have with everything else, because it's just you fulfilling value to somebody else. That's it. And you can be so much more focused on doing that and providing that value versus when you have funnels, webinars, all this stuff. You've got tech people, you've got customer support people, all these things going on, and your focus is scattered. And so it's hard to build the back end. And that for me is what happened, is that I had so much other expenses going on, staffing, all these things on the front end, that I couldn't focus on the back end. But once I realized that, I was like, oh my gosh, I did what you said. I went back and said, okay, let's do the back end. And now today I get more joy and happiness and fulfillment personally out of the back end, because you see so much more value given and received and put into place. And so, definitely that back end is very powerful. So
I think most people see like, oh, Grant Cardone's doing this thing and Tony's doing this thing. And all they see is the front end. So they think they need to model or hack that. Right. And meanwhile, they're not seeing the back end because they're not going through the whole process to see the back end. Right. Yeah. So they never really see it because they're not exposed to it. So they just think like, oh, I need to be on social media every day, pumping out content. It's like, well, you don't even have something to sell. Like, what are you doing? Like that's going to be a good way of like burning through a lot of cash. Right. So it's the cart before the horse concept. Like, start with the horse, and that's the back end offer, because your back end offer is going to, number one, give you the most money. Okay. Which allows you to hire people, right? Yeah. Allows you to run ads, right? Allows you to build your team. It allows you to have some breathing room, right? But it also, on the flip side of that coin, come from the highest amount of touch you give. Yeah. It's just how this works. It's just reality. Your course, is the number of people that are successful that have outstanding success don't come from a course. The course is just the gateway into the world, into that person's world.
Yeah.
It's like a book. I mean, when's the last time you read a book and made $1 million off of it?
Yeah. That's not really And the other thing too that I realized is that when you start on the back end, if you're not trying to do volume either. It's not about doing tons of volume. Right. Now, once you want to scale, of course, then it changes the game, because then guess what you do? You do the front end. Yeah. You get 1,000 people into a webinar, buying a webinar. Then all of a sudden you have 1,000 people you can put into the back end. Now, granted, we know a small percentage will go there,
Right.
But then all of a sudden, what I realized is once that was in place,
Yep.
I don't have to focus on going and getting the higher end people for the back end.
It takes care of itself. Right.
Yep.
And you're more selective. You can be more selective now because you're like, well, I've got all these people coming in. They're willing to pay me X, and I can be selective now. And then you cast the wide net, and then you can serve people at a different level. And then eventually, when they're ready, here's a big one. When they're ready, if you stay at this long enough, I launched a campaign back in 2016 that still spits out $100,000 clients.
Yeah,
Think about that. Right? But most people are not even in this thing long enough. They like plant all these seeds, right?
Yep.
And then it doesn't manifest instantly. And they're like, this isn't working. And then they go move on to the next shiny ship. I call it shiny ship syndrome.
Yep.
Jumping from shiny ship to shiny ship,
Well, I've been there.
And then all the planting and all of the sowing that you've done into the soil is all wasted. Right?
I like that.
I mean, think about it, dude. 2016 is 2023. I mean, how many years is that? That's 7 years later. A campaign that was a free plus shipping offer still spits out $100,000 plus clients.
I love that. That's awesome.
Crazy, right? So again, if you think longer and you understand the value of planting and sowing and reaping a harvest into the future, look at the bamboo plant, right? You plant that thing, it takes 7 years to grow underground, and then all of a sudden it comes shooting out of the earth. Yeah, 7 years. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if you started a business idea and you weren't going to make money for 7 years, right? Like you wouldn't even do it. Now, but if you did, and you're planting and sowing and planting and watering and nurturing. My brother did that. For 3 years, he built an audience, and all he did was build the audience, didn't make a penny.
Really?
Check this out. After 3 years, he said, I'm going to start monetizing it. We created a free plus shipping offer for it. He has now sold over a million units. Okay. Of all things, it's glass pipes in the marijuana industry. So it's glass pipes, right? He built up this marijuana website, this curation-based site and brand, built his audience over 3 million people just by feeding them content for 3 years straight without making a penny. First of all, not many people are willing to do that. That takes fortitude, that takes vision, and that takes patience, right? So he did that, and then he launched a Free Pipe Friday. We innovated that in the marijuana space because they've never seen a free plus shipping offer, and now he's done over $25 million pipes, not even being able to spend a penny on advertising because Facebook won't let you spend money on pipes, YouTube won't let you send pipe offers, right? But he had the mindset that I'm going to build it, and I'm going to nurture that relationship, and I'm going to continue to do it and do it and do it. And eventually, when I get to a place where I have an audience that builds trust, he's earned the right. Now, boom, he makes offers, and he's sustainable. I mean, he'll never have to worry about money again because he put in that work. But for most people, they don't have the ability to do that.
And
not many people can go 3 years without making a penny and planting and sowing and doing all that. You don't have to like that. That's definitely a slow path. That's a slow path, and you don't have to do that. There's a lot better ways to do it than that. But it speaks into this idea of like, think longer, think bigger, think longer.
Yeah.
And whatever it is that you're putting out into the world and producing, like all of us should be producers, not just consumers. Like we need to be producing. Like that's how we correct, I think, some of the problems that we are experiencing in our world. Like we need more producers. Like we've been created to be producers. Like, so we need to all be more, we need to all produce more value for others than we take from society. And I think we would all be in a better place as a collective if we.
100%. Yeah. Like when you talk about consuming, it's you will embody typically or represent what you consume. So if you consume politics and social media all day long, you're probably going to have a negative outlook. Mm-hmm. If you follow people like you, or I'll even say myself, people like Tony Robbins, who you consume their content, which is positive, it's forward thinking, then you're going to embody that. So it's an interesting concept. And right now, a lot of the things that are in front of our faces are trying to shove negativity down our throats because that's what sells. It's the strongest reaction.
Fear is a greater motivator than pleasure.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what our media apparatus is based on fear because it gets more people to pay attention and they make more money. Right? Yep. It is what it is. That's just, you just know what it is. And then you can decide if you're going to, get that information, which I think it's important to be informed, right? But not all consuming. Does that make sense? So it's like,
100%.
get your information from trusted sources, not fake news, like the propaganda machine. Like, but get good information from the right sources, which I know is hard these days. And then get off of that and move into a place where, like we said earlier, like surrounding yourself with the right people, like we've done with the mastermind that we're in together. It's like, it's exhilarating, right? Like a full week of mastermind with people that are making things happen. Like it is exhilarating, right? It's like every time we come back from one of those experiences, it's just a newfound source of energy and fuel. At least that's how I feel.
Who you're surrounded, by is so powerful. And for me, when I go to those places, because there's three things that when people ask me right now, hey, Bryan, I'm living in fear, or I'm scared. What should I be doing right now? Because I feel like something is, coming right now. And that's something that I talk about quite a bit, but it's like, it's simple. One is don't focus on the negative stuff that's being shoved in your face. Be aware of it, but don't let it control you.
Yep. Exactly. And I would say, something is coming and we have a choice. We have the choice to create a parallel economy. And that's the solution to that is trying to enslave humanity, right? Call it what it is. That's the agenda. If you're not aware of that agenda, get up to speed, my friend, because there's an agenda to enslave humanity on a global level. It's called the New World Order, right? This is not a new concept. It's been around for decades. So what do? We have to create solutions. The solutions, it's parallel economies. Look at Public Square. Public Square has taken off because it's a platform that brings together, businesses together that's not going to be silenced or canceled, right? Look at, Cloud Hub is another platform. There's alternate banking systems that are being set up now. There is alternate merchant systems, right? There is alternate everything. Everything needs to be recreated that's not under the control of the people that want to enslave humanity. It's just simple.
What you said there is pretty powerful, because I always say knowledge is first. Like, what's the best investment you can ever make? It's in yourself. Sounds cliche, but it is 100% absolutely true beyond all comprehension for me personally. It's like, that is your best thing because you control that. Yep. The second thing is control your environment, which is money, business, the things you talked about. Once you get control back, it's really interesting. If you go look in your life right now, I challenge people to do this. Look at your environment. What about it do you control versus somebody else controls? Well, if you have a job where you're paid for your time, how much control do you have? If your retirement is in a 401k, who controls the 401k really? Ultimately, it's not you. It's the government. I mean, you start to look at this kind of stuff and say, okay, how do I get control back? How do I start taking that back? And then the other thing I look at, the third thing I would talk to people about is like, how you're working so hard for your life, but how do you get your life working for you? Yeah. Like, to me, that is one of those amazing things. And the simplest concept is get your money working for you instead of working for your money. Yeah. And so that's one of the things those three things right there. If you're not doing them right now, lean in, start doing the things right now. Knowledge, control, and get your life working for you instead of you.
And the other thing I would say too to that, Bryan, is like, there's a lot of things that are outside of our control, but we do have the ability to produce things that are in our control, right? That's the power of the internet business, right? Like, we have the ability to launch things at will, right? We have the ability to create cash flow out of thin air when we add value to a marketplace, right? Like, that's the most beautiful thing about the internet that we have, right? The ability to produce value for others. And when that value is experienced, they're willing to give an exchange of value, which is monetary, back to you, right? But if you're not adding value, then you can't expect an exchange of value back. Exactly. Right? And the other thing is, as one of my mentors, I won't mention his name here, given the name, but he said, local action has a national impact, right? So if you feel like things have gotten out of control, we really ultimately need to go back to local action, meaning go and sit on your school boards, go and volunteer locally to be a part of the solution to taking back, these institutions that have been weaponized against us, the people, right? Like, that's all of us need to get off the couch and off the sidelines and into the arena, because we have the numbers on our side, right? We are the majority most of humanity wants freedom. Like they want to be left alone and they want to live their life and build their family and they want to have the experience and have freedom, right? Like not a very large percentage of the world wants to be ruled by a dictatorship, right?
No.
Like that's just ridiculous. So, but that's but that's what being forced upon us by the overlords and by, those that they fund that are those that are funded by those people, which is the media, right? The media is funded. Look at who they're funded by, right? If you look at who they're funded by, then you understand the agenda. But we do have ultimate control. I say the best thing to do is launch an online business because you can do it from anywhere in the world. You can do it from your couch. You can travel and do it. And you can just you can turn your knowledge and skills and expertise into an online business. What more do you need? All you need is a computer or a phone. For that matter, you don't need a computer these days. You could literally do everything from your phone and an internet connection. That's about all you need. Now, you can get fancy and get all the bells and whistles and build out like this crazy studio like I'm in right now, right? This is our business. I bring clients here and create products and produce things like you would, in a TV show situation, right?
Yep.
But you don't have to go that crazy. You just need a camera, you need a computer, maybe a phone, and you can literally start adding value to other people's lives. And when you add value to other people's lives, there will be a vacuum in which value must come back to you. I launched a campaign. That campaign I mentioned, 2016. I launched it by doing 30 days of Facebook Live every day at 7 a.m. Pacific. That's why I woke up, came on camera, did my video, right? And literally, I just took lessons in my life. I made this is a quick exercise for everyone who's listening right now. Make a list of all the lessons you've learned on your journey to get you to where you're at in life and dump them out. Go back to when you were a kid. I want to talk about the unconditional love I learned from my German Shepherd wolf dog. I talked about my great-grandfather being an inventor. I talked about my dad and the lessons I learned from him and his partnership with his brother that didn't go well. But just go back as far as you can and write down all the lessons you've learned in your journey. And then go on Facebook and just talk every day for 30 days, for 60 days, whatever it is, and just talk about it and just add value and insights that you learned that you wish you would have known. And you're going to help people. From that campaign, number one, the campaign took off. Number two, people were sending me stuff for free. I'd get gift cards in the mail of like $100 gift cards to this restaurant, all types of crazy stuff because of how much value I added. And it's a great demonstration of I showed up, added value, didn't expect to get gifts in the mail. But that just happened naturally. I'd go to an event and they'd be like, people, their lives were so impacted by that burst of content and value that they felt compelled to give me something for it. And that's the same thing that will happen to you if you just go through the process and do it. And don't worry about how you look, how it sounds. Done beats perfect. Just do it, right? We all have those things that come up in our minds when we first start doing things. I started doing things. I had a buzzed head and I had braces. I look back, you can go to my YouTube channel and go all the way back in time and you can see those videos. They look horrible, right? It was rough, but everybody starts somewhere and you just got to do it. Garrett White said it once. He's like, in the beginning, you're going to suck. And then you're going to continue to suck. Eventually you're going to suck less, and one day you'll be great. Right. But you got to go through that suck period in order to get great. There's no way to skip the suck period and become great. There's just no way to do it. You just have to suck in the beginning. And it's okay. It's part of the journey. It's part of your process. You'll look back and laugh at that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've done the same thing where I've gone back, years ago and looked at a video I've done. I'm like, wow. And I still made money and revenue from that thing. How is that possible?
How is it possible that people paid me money for that? Yeah, exactly.
It's because it's what you said. And to summarize, one of the most important lessons, Bryan, that you shared is just give value and it will come back. And that's more important right now than almost ever before.
Yeah, get value and give it with all of your heart, mind, and soul. Put everything you have into it, right? Like leave nothing back. What if you were to die tomorrow? Like, would you have given your all? Give it your all. Just pour everything you got into that camera, into that phone, into that video, and just give it everything you got. You've got nothing to lose. There's nothing to lose. You could pass on tomorrow. We're not guaranteed our days, right? But did you live it fully, right? Did you give it your all, right? But add value and don't do it half-assed, right? Because that will produce a half-assed result. But if you give it your all, at least you can sleep at night saying, I gave everything I can to at least one person.
There you go. I love that, man. Awesome. Hey, if anybody wants to learn more or follow you, where would they want to go?
Yeah. So the easiest place to go would be perfectfunnelsystem.com. Perfectfunnelsystem.com. I think everyone knows how to spell that. It's pretty easy. Or my personal brand is Bryan Dulaney, Bryan with a Y, because you got to have a Y. Right, Bryan? And then Dulaney, D-U-L-N-E-Y. D-U-L-A-N-E-Y. A lot of people think it's D-E, but no, it's D-U-L-A-N-E-Y. It's Irish. And so BryanDulaney.com or any of my socials, all BryanDulaney.com as well.
Awesome. And we'll put that down below as well or somewhere on the page. Awesome, Bryan. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. And that was amazing.
Thanks for listening to the Living Legacy Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.